All right. Well, yeah, we're good to go then. Go ahead and kick this one off today with Suvi. Let me see if I can pronounce this. Is it Inkinen?
Inkinen. That's pretty good.
Okay. Okay.
Well
Uh,
done, Ryan.
What's that?
Well done, Ryan.
Well, thank you. Where are you from? Let everybody know exactly where you're from and where you're residing right now.
So I'm originally from Finland, where I grew up, but I left fully 10 years ago when I was 30. So I'm currently living in Sydney, Australia.
Awesome. What was it like growing up in Finland?
What was it? Well, I don't know. I guess for everyone, it's a different experience. Finland is a beautiful, safe country. But I always felt like it wasn't my home. And I remember when I was little, my mom told me later on that when I was 2, I had told her that Finland is not my country. So I always felt like I was a foreign person in that country, like I didn't fit in.
Huh.
But yeah, I loved it. The education system is free. The healthcare system is free. So it's a beautiful country to grow up in. But mainly for me, maybe for the weather part of it, it was really affecting me going through depression and eating disorders and a bit of low bits in my life. I just need the sunshine. So I've lived in Hawaii and Malta and Cyprus and now in Australia, just for like, that's the biggest reason for me maybe to leave.
Uh-huh.
But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful country. Beautiful. If the weather was nice, I would still be there, I think.
We got to get that sunshine, right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
When you first moved out of Finland, where did you go?
So when I officially moved, I lived since 3 years out when I was in my early 20s.
Uh-huh.
But then when I left, I went to Hawaii to Maui to study holistic and clinical bodywork.
Mm.
That was a decade ago when I was 30, and I was just at a point where I had to either go or I would just go, like fully be done with everything. Yeah, so that's where I went first, and then I was a little stint in San Francisco afterwards, and then was supposed to go to Malta for 6 months before I came to Australia. There was a lot of things that happened kind of in the middle that made me wait a little bit, and then I ended up being there for 3 years. So I came to Australia 5 years ago,
Okay.
and I'm getting my citizenship. Fingers crossed. And then that process is done for me. She's great.
Nice. What got you on the path that sent you to Hawaii?
So I've always gone with my intuition and with my heart. I've
Mm.
questioned it with my mind for most of my life. Now I'm kind of in a place where I just go where I go, because if it feels right, then it usually is. But for me, I wanted to go to a country that is warm and that you can speak English in, because it's always been really comfortable for me to use the language. And then I was just randomly looking at places when I thought that I just have to leave. And then I happened to find a course for healing work there. And they already started the course and everything was going. And they said, no, we can't admit you anymore. And I just felt like I have to go. There's something that is calling my name. And then I jumped on a call with the admin from the school. And we had a chat, and she said, I just feel like you should come. Like, I want to get you here. And then, long story short, a few months later, I got my visa sorted and everything, and I was on the plane to Hawaii. And that was the first time I felt at home. It was funny when I landed. I've never been there before, ever in my life, and I went by myself, and I just sold everything and left. Not in a way that I'm never coming back, not in that way that I hate everyone and I'm Finland, it sucks and I'm not coming back. But the thought was that I'm not coming back to live in Finland anymore. So the moment that I landed in Maui, and I just started crying, and I just felt like this just feels like I've been here before, and it just feels like home somehow. So that was the first kind of time when I felt that I belong somewhere.
Gotcha.
It was beautiful.
Nice. How long have you operated by allowing your heart to guide you versus anything else? Was that a transition for you, or did it stick with you from age 2 on when you said you didn't
So
believe?
Yes. So I feel like in a past life, I've been an intellect person using my mind.
Okay.
And in this life is all about the heart.
Mhm.
And that's been a constant struggle for me. So I kind of lived in between worlds, I think. And I get a lot of messages and I get visitations from spirit, but I always spoke myself out of trusting that.
Okay.
So I kind of go with it, but I question it, if that makes sense. And I've had some detours because I didn't trust it. And then I slowly it was a long process to get to a point where I could just trust it and I didn't have to worry.
Mhm.
Um, and that's a lot to do with being introduced to plant medicine some time ago. Um, but yeah, I've always gone with my intuition. And people laugh at me and like, why would you go? You've never been there. Or coming to Australia, why would you've never been there? Like, why would you move your life and just go? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like I have to be there. Like
Mm.
there's something that is, I'm meant to be there for whatever reason. I just have this really, really strong feeling of it. And you can't talk yourself out of those big, when something is trying to push you because that's your place. And when it's something bigger like that, then you just don't have a choice really than just go with it, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how it is for me.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to the people that are saying, how could you just do that?
Mm.
How could you just up and do that thing? I think if you don't do that every once in a while, and the further away you get from your heart,
Mm.
the more you kind of get trapped
Mm.
in this idea that you can't do
Mm.
certain things.
Or you keep telling yourself that you can't. And you
Yeah.
never question that thought, right?
Yeah. Was
Ever.
that did you have a lot of people around you growing up that were, I guess, supportive of this, or did they not understand?
Um, I think majority of people, like so I'm from a really, really small community in Finland, which is like 6,000 people,
Hmm.
right? So 98% of my childhood friends, for example, they still live close by to their parents and they do the life that we should do. And people, I got a lot of eye rolls and they didn't necessarily say it out loud. But I've been really blessed in the sense that, so I grew up with a family where we didn't have much money and my parents are not educated at all, really. And in my family, there's two children, and my brother moved to the US when he's been there for 15 years. I think he's 5 years older than me. So there was that kind of idea for them already. And my dad got sick when I was 15, so he's kind of out of the picture. But my mom, she's always, like, you can see that she's sad that we go, right? And for me, it was a long time. It was a struggle because I was the only one there. And I felt like I have to be there for my mom. Um, and then at some point, I just thought I just have to go. And the blessing that I had with my mother is that even though it made her sad, but she would never kind of stand in the way of our happiness. She put that aside and said, whatever makes you happy. She worries, obviously, we're so far. And even though I'm 40, but I'm the youngest child, and she always worries about me because I'm by myself and I'm, kind of always been the one who just goes to one thing to another, to another, to another. But yeah, so in that sense, I feel really supported
Hmm.
by my mom because she just kind of lets us do our thing, even though it's painful for her, which a lot of parents I think don't do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've gotten a lot of eye rolls, and sometimes I look back at my life and I look at my friends. You have the brief 2 seconds when you think, oh, they have a house and they have a car and they have a dog and they have, the kids and they have the stable life. And for a moment, I'm like, yeah, I'm by myself, and I'm kind of, going from one thing to another and starting again. And I kind of wish I had that stability.
Mm.
And then you kind of step out of it. It's like, I would never, like, everybody has their own path. But for me, if I think of living that kind of life, and it just feels so wrong to me.
Yeah.
So regardless, yeah, we all have our own path. And sometimes it looks weird to other people, but you have to follow your path, even if your parents are against what you want to do. But do you live for your parents or do you live for yourself? Are you actually doing service to your family if you're not living your truth and you're unhappy, right? Like, who are you serving, really?
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, because do you want, like, if people really want you to be happy, if you're staying
Mm.
in the same place that is making you unhappy, then you're doing something that's not working for you or them. And if the people that are around you are so bitter or unhappy
Mhm.
that, they're trying to drag you down so they feel better about themselves, it's not a situation you want to be in either.
No, no. And then, but then there's, obviously I've had these conversations a lot because obviously my life is what it is and it
Mm,
looks a bit different to a lot of people. And then you understand where it gets a bit more tricky when let's say your parents are really sick,
mm,
right? And leaving is a problem, or you're in a culture where that's just not done, right? But I still advocate people to live their lives because imagine you're living for your parents, right?
yeah.
And then you have this passion, something that you really, really want to do. And that, like you said, it detaches you from your true self and you just feel more and more lost. And by the time you're 50, whatever, if that's the normal human range of life, and your parents pass on, and then you're 50 and you're like, well, so now they're gone and I'm unhappy and I've lived over half of my life. And what do I do now?
Yeah.
Right? And then you might feel bitter and whatever feelings towards your parents, even if it gets to that point that you're older. So who are you serving?
Mm,
Right?
mm,
Like parents,
yeah.
you get a gift of a child, right? And you're there to make them old enough and strong enough to go into the world and do their thing. They're
Yeah.
not yours to keep.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's how it is.
that's a big deal because there's never going to be a good, like, the perfect time to do something like a big move or something like that. Like, man, you really, like, when you were saying that, it was really resonating a lot because before I moved out here, making plans to come out here,
Mhm.
my when started making plans to move out to California from Ohio,
Mhm.
um, both my parents had cancer, and my dad ended up passing before, like, a few months before I moved out here, and
Mhm.
then my mom ended up passing in 2017. But thank you. It is one of those things where I did get I had a couple people mention something about, like, well, your parents, and it's just like, fuck, man, this is hard already,
Work.
it's hard already to potentially make this decision. But what you're saying, like, I think about this, like, and I think about the last, like, 5 years of my life, and it's like, legit, if I would have just stayed in Ohio because of that, like, and if
Mhm.
that would have been the reason and I would have done that for them, like, I wouldn't be I know I wouldn't be in a, a good place right now. Like, I'm, with everything that has come up and the consistent roller coaster of life
Mhm.
being what it is, it might seem to some people on the outside looking in that I'm on the emotional roller coaster and that might be a bad thing. But, like, I'm
Yeah.
finally to a point in my life where I'm not scared of my emotions.
Mm.
Like, I'm not afraid of them. Like, I know that I know it's an ebb and a flow.
Mhm.
I know there's going to be ups. I know there's going to be downs. But I've found that out by doing the work that I've done over these past 5 years, which I highly doubt would have happened if I would have stayed in Ohio.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think a lot of people, and I'm sure you've seen this, people who have resistance of you living your dream, whether they're conscious about it or not, but often it's their own fear or because they would love to do what you do, but they're too afraid to do it. So they try to pull you to their level,
Yeah.
right? To their unhappiness because it makes them more comfortable. There's an excuse for them not to do their thing because you didn't do it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just, like nothing, nothing that people do or say is usually about you. It's about them. They want to make themselves feel better or they want to, whatever it is for them, right? Whether it's your parents or your siblings or your friends or your coworkers or whoever it is. Um, but good for you for taking the big step and following your own path. It's not easy,
No.
right? It's not, but that's the thing. I feel like it's like happiness is this, it's like espresso martini of emotions, right? It's this trendy thing that you should be happy all the time. And people think life is about about happiness, but it's this perfect happiness where there's no other feelings exist in that space,
That's
right? But
that's
happiness,
that's Valium, and
right? Like happiness
that's
is
pills.
not, yeah, like happiness is not the absence of everything else. Happiness is having that as your grounding point, and then all the emotions just flow on top of it,
Yeah,
right? We're here to transform suffering. We're not here to just sit and be happy. You don't have to be courageous if you're not afraid of something,
yeah,
right? You don't have to grow and learn and evolve if nothing's pushing you, making you uncomfortable.
yeah. And
But
it's
how
a
you,
really weird thing to think about, that you could be upset or crying or down in the dumps and still be happy, like still feel good. Like it's
I said, it's like calm. It's this calm space with
yes,
yourself, and the things just come and go. And when you find that other people don't disturb you, shit that happens around you, it doesn't shake you, right? It's like a palm tree that stands and it's really long, but when winds come, it just kind of goes and then it just settles down, right?
yeah,
And I feel like that's our mission as people, is to find that grounded place within ourselves and then just let life happen around us and it's fine.
that's a really beautiful analogy. I like that.
I like palm trees, so I use them, and coconuts and pecans, so they might come up.
I like palm trees too. It's part of the reason why I enjoy California so much.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, so with the whole happiness thing, I think it's sad that people don't understand that it doesn't mean that every day is amazing. Like I just had a conversation with someone yesterday about, like, when are you awakened? And they say, well, that's a trendy word. I don't really like these embodied and spirituality, because now they're like become a bit dirty and tainted, I think.
Yeah,
Um, but that it means, or some people think that it means that you don't feel things anymore. You're just detached from everything. I like human emotions. I like to, like, that's the whole thing of, when you're in higher dimensions, you don't have the ability to feel things.
yeah,
That's the beauty of being a human, even though it's really limited the way we are in life, right? That we don't see the big picture, but we feel shit. As long as you don't let it kind of drag you down, and that is not carrying you, you're just kind of feeling it and just letting it go. Like, I think crying your eyes out, or being in love, or all the happy, and or there's not negative and positive emotion, I think it's just emotions,
mm,
but all of those things are like, they're magic. Like, why would you not want to feel them?
yeah,
So I think being awakened, or whatever you call it, is when you still feel things but they don't shake you.
yeah,
You
yeah.
notice that, you let them go, and you're just like, I feel a bit sad, that's quite beautiful, what is this telling me? And then
That's
you let
it.
it
That's it. That's the thing. It's like when you feel the emotion, like, where is this coming from?
go.
You
Because
know?
it's like a messenger for you. Pain is a messenger, suffering is a messenger,
Yeah. If you
right?
think of it very literal, like if you get cut, you're gonna get pain to that like area. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh, I can see this, and it's very easy to see it in a physical sense. And that's why I feel like we need to be doing so much more work around the emotional and spiritual side of things, because it's already confusing.
Mhm.
You can't see an emotional wound like you can a physical wound. So it's like, how the hell do you even start that? And I think a lot of people are just confused.
Mhm. And I think that's the other thing, is that when it comes to plant medicine or feelings or anything, and because our ego, our human mind, needs to create a construct, use words, and intellectualize everything, right? And we want to understand feelings. Why do we have to understand them?
Mm-hmm.
Or something beautiful happen, just allow it to happen and feel it and let it go. You don't have to like describe everything and like journal about every little thing that happens in life. Just allow yourself to feel it and don't go back to your control and your intellect,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's a moment when you have to look at what is coming up for me, what is this telling me, but then we don't have to, yeah, we don't have to intellectualize everything. I think magic is beautiful, and just allow it to be what it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There is a danger in like this. I feel like in the spiritual and the emotional like side, like the communities of over analyzing like literally every single thing.
But that's
Um,
in control, isn't it?
what's that?
that's the need to be in control because you're
Yeah.
afraid.
And it's ironic because the whole point of like spirituality is to release control. We try to just package it so much.
Do you ever like just listen to people talk and it's like, I just, what are you, like, this is bullshit. But then you just have to people, let people do their process. Because I've been a massive hypocrite if I look back, the things that I do now or I talk about, I'm like, who are you to say anything? Like a year ago, you were just showing the door to someone who talks about the things that I talk about now, right? And you just have to allow people to go through their process and not push your ideas on them, but you can just listen and maybe, plant a few seeds. And then one day they will grow like they did for me, or I'm sure for you as well when you're ready, right? An
Yeah.
interesting thing about suffering, which I use this a lot when I'm with clients, or so I've been always this fixer person, right?
You've been a
Because I'm
hold
so
on,
wounded
hold on
within
real quick.
myself. A fixer. Did it cut off? Are we
Yeah,
back?
I said I heard you've always been, and then it kind of cut off.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I've always been a fixer person,
Okay.
right? Because of my own woundings, right? So
Mm.
I was so uncomfortable with other people's pain, especially if they're people that I love,
Mm.
right? Being around them, I just want to fix it. I want to take
Yeah.
it away from them. I thought that I'm being a good person.
Yeah.
Or coaching clients, I'm like, oh, I need you to be okay because, and I didn't realize that it was actually me getting so triggered and I was so uncomfortable with their pain. So how I use this, and that's why I had to go through a lot of things in my life and work through a lot of things, even though we keep on healing until we die, and then we go to another life and we keep on healing, right? But for me, I had to go through certain things and heal certain things so I can sit in this container with my clients who are suffering and not wanting to take it away, allow them to go through it. And then I have this thing that I keep thinking in my mind, and don't quote me on this story, but about the butterfly transforming into, no, cocoon, but transforming into a butterfly,
Yeah.
right? Everybody knows this. But do you know what happens in the middle?
Yes, but I'll allow you to explain that. It's pretty
So, yeah, so please put more details in. I'm just going to give the big picture and I'm just going to like make the story in my head, but so people get the idea, because a lot of people don't understand this. I didn't know this, right, before. And this is the story I keep in my mind when I feel like I want to take it away. That there was a gardener who was watching this cocoon hanging on a tree, and he's seeing a little crack, and he sees the little cracks come, and he can see the butterfly starting to emerge a little bit, and then it stops. And he freaks out because he doesn't want the butterfly to suffer, right? So he goes and he cracks it open, and the wet, miserable little thing with the wings all crumbled. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think it's cutting off. So yes, the wings all crumble and then it just flops to the ground and dies. And the gardener feels really sad. It's like, oh my God, I killed it. Right? So in the middle, there's some juices and things that happen, but it needs the struggle of coming out of the cocoon to actually be able to be strong enough to fly. So if somebody takes that suffering away, it's going to die. But it's the same thing for people, isn't it? Like the only way for us to transform and grow and go to the next level and go deeper within ourselves is transform suffering. If somebody takes that away from you, you're not serving them, you're serving you, because you're uncomfortable watching them suffer. You make it about you and then you explain it away. So that's the story that I kind of keep locked in my head. And when I get this urge, right, you just like, oh, I need to fix this because oh my God, it hurts me to watch you be like this. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Just allow them to do their work. It's not my place to step in. Yeah.
And it'd be, I mean, you'd be doing them a disservice if you didn't allow them to feel that.
Because they're not going to be able to grow and transform whatever is going on for them. It comes up for you. You feel the pain because you need to do something with it. It's telling you, look here. This is ready to be released. Look here. And if I muffle it, or people muffle it, you go and you distract yourself with people and music and food and alcohol and shopping and sex and whatever, then you're doing it for yourself because you feel something is emerging and your ego is not trying to distract you so you don't go there.
Yeah. And the only other part that I was thinking about with the caterpillar to a butterfly thing is like once they're in the cocoon, it
Mhm.
basically liquefies in there. Like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
caterpillar just completely breaks down and resembles like nothing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's complete like tearing down of what it was so it can build up to what it
meant
is.
to be, and what it's meant to be. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
To its high potential.
yeah,
Not be a worm that goes, but it can actually fly and be beautiful.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need stressors. You know, we need things that are going to allow us to build that metaphorical
Mhm,
strength.
mhm,
You know, and
mhm,
and we can do these analogies all day. It's like the same, like the tree. Like if you put a tree with no wind around it to make those roots get forced to grow deeper, wider, stronger to support that tree, you're gonna have a weak tree.
mhm. Yeah, there you go. Nature is our biggest teacher,
It is.
right? It's our biggest teacher.
Yeah. And
We just don't listen because we think we know it all.
yeah. And speaking of nature and plant medicines, you have definitely been on the healing side of um, the plant medicine space. Am I correct?
Hmm.
Cool. Was this something that you had gone towards because you knew it would be something that would be amazing, or because you were just curious about some of the things that you were hearing and seeing?
Uh, so, if I give you a long story short about my plant medicine journey, so I'm 40 now, and I drank my fair share when I was young. Like that's what Finnish people do.
Mm.
And I didn't smoke pot, nothing. I didn't touch anything. And even if I spoke to someone who was talking about their psychedelic experience, I'm like, just yeah, whatever, just you know, I'm not interested. Just go.
Yeah.
So I was until like last year, maybe mid last year, and I was like, no, don't want anything to do with it. And for me, it was I've been a massive perfectionist my whole life, and it was all about control, right? But also I saw quite heavy things when I was a counselor in a halfway house, and we might have a young person who smokes pot twice, and we're taking, they just snap, and we take it to the psych ward, and they're strapping a person down who's 15. And I'm like, I enjoy my brain too much to like play with this shit. Like I just don't want to. And that was my experience of it, right? And then um, when I was my mid, like 30, yeah, I've already turned 39, and somebody that I really trust and admire, and he's a big part of my life, and I know he would never do anything stupid that would kind of do anything to harm him in any way. And he does his due diligence, and he's just an intelligent person. Not saying that people who do plant medicine are not intelligent. And he was telling me about his experience after he started trying, and psilocybin is the one I'm specifically talking about in my case. And I'm really drawn to that medicine. And then I just felt there was a lot of things that were coming. I was seeing mushrooms everywhere, and it was just coming to me. And he sent me some articles and Michael Pollan's book, and then a few other things, and said, just have a look. Because I told him I've done a lot of my own healing, but I feel like there's a place in me that I can't shift. Like
Mm.
something's blocking me. I don't know what to do. Like I'm just stuck here, and I don't know what to do,
Mhm.
and I know I need to shift it. Like there's something that I have to do in my life, and this has to go. So I went, and I was really blessed to do it in a way that I was in a really small group with people that I know, with people I can trust, and I got all the necessary information to be able to not be afraid. And I could just go with trust. So I did 2 journeys, and so like I said, I've been so this was last year. And like I mentioned to you, that I've been really like, I have visitations and things come to me, and I just feel things, and I'm kind of in between worlds, but then I've always explained it away, and I got all the confirmation that I needed. Like
Ah.
everything was proven and shown to me, and I went through past lives, and I was taken up to a star where I came from, and then this shaman woman who was there, and she was in the same journey with me, and we're from the same star, and it was like all these it was beautiful, beautiful. It was hard. I usually cry. I'm the weeper who just like cries and is just purging from the face the whole 4 hours. But yeah, so that was my, like when everything shifted for me. And then all these things started to come my way. And now I'm being pulled into this shamanic path, which has been on the background the whole time. And I just kind of like pushed it away. And it's like my body's remembering things. And then I was doing a lot of research, and then people started to come to me, and I started to see how it's done, and all the stuff that happens around plant medicine in the world. And I find it really worrying that people don't do their due diligence. They don't understand what the plants are actually there for. They use them as a crutch or an escape, and people are taking advantage of other people, because they come to you and they're in dire straits because they just want to heal. And then people just take advantage of it and don't have any clue on what to do with the person after the journey. They just like shoot them away, and then they're all with all these things that come up, and it's like, what do I do with this now? And they're in a worse place than they actually were. So then through a lot of different weirdest things, I had this lady who I met, and she wanted to help me, and she ended up sending me the exact amount of money. She said, you're going to do beautiful things in the world, and I just want to help you. So can I? So she sent me a chunk of money, and it turned out to be the exact amount of money that I had to pay for the certification that I finished some time ago, which is psychospiritual integration and transformation and addiction recovery, which is all about psychedelic integration, pre and post. So I want people to be safe. I know there are people who are doing it in a way that I think it's just horrendous, but those people, it's their path, and people who come to those people, they're meant to do it together. But at least I can do my part. And then I keep hearing there's new things in the plans for me regarding, because we're trying to legalize it, and now I've started to see the dark side of that come out, which concerns me a lot.
Yeah.
And told me that she was given, her first journey was 5 with a psychologist who she worked with, and she has a lot of trauma in her past. And I was just listening to her story, and I'm like, this is just so fucked up. Like something has to change. So she's never done psilocybin before, and her clinician suggested that let's try this. Let's try plant medicine for you. And what they've done, before she went into the journey, they told her that if it gets too hard for you, we have Xanax and Valium here for you, so we can give that. That was exact my reaction. I'm just like, my head is steaming, and I'm listening to this message, and she's like freaking out. They gave her 5 grams of psilocybin and MDMA in one go. Yes. So
first,
yes. So the biggest thing with this what happens in, like I was telling you how my first journeys were so beautiful because I was set up in a proper way, and I was in the right setting, and I knew what to do before I went in, right? So I can go with trust, and even if I'm scared, I can just go with what comes.
Yes.
And for her, already telling someone that we have these medicines here, that's already disempowering you and making you feel like something bad is going to happen to me. But nothing bad will happen to you with plant medicine if it's done in a way that it's meant to be done, right? So she already goes with that fear, but just mixing pharmaceuticals with this is just so much bullshit that I can't even.
My God. So she has the potential to have this like crazy psilocybin experience, MDMA, and then have Xanax thrown on top of it.
Okay. What were you saying? That she has the potential.
So it's like she has psilocybin, MDMA, and then potentially Xanax thrown on top of it. Like,
yes, they offered that to her if she gets too panicky. So I said the whole point of prepping for a journey is explaining to a person, okay, this is the amount of time it's going to last. When you go in, whatever comes, you're in charge of it. Ask, are you medicine? If it stays, it's for you. It's there for you, but you're in charge of sending shit away if it feels like this is not right. Yeah. But even if it's scary, it stays, it's there to teach you. So for her, stuff was coming up, and she told me about how she's in this relationship with someone that I could feel when she was telling me this story. And So she's done this journey already, and she went home like she didn't know what the hell to do with herself. She thought she has to break up with her partner because this voice was coming up for her telling that you have to, like, this is not the right person for you, and she freaked out. And so she comes out of her journey and starts to discuss this because nobody's telling her that it's okay to go in. It's a shadow that is trying to come up for you, and it's just wanting to come up to be released, right? So when she was telling about her partner, and I could feel her energy, it's like I just got it teary, and I could feel her true self is talking about this man in her life. Like, this is a solid, beautiful person who is sent to her, and it's so what they have is beautiful, and her heart knows it. But then this thought had come up in her journey that you have to break up with him, blah, 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 blah. She freaked out. She was like, oh my God, like maybe he's not the right person for me. And all I could hear is, this is a shadow of you, that maybe you've had abandonment stuff, something's happened in your life.
Yeah.
And it's just coming there for you to look at it, and it's ready to be let go of. You don't need that protection anymore. But she went home and she thought, I can't talk to my partner about this now because I feel like I have to break up with him. And then I just sent her a long message and we start working together. Yeah. But that's the thing that I want to educate clinicians, because when it's going to be legalized, hopefully, it's still not going to be in the hands legally of shamans and people who do it in a way that you're in both worlds, in the spiritual world and in the clinical world, right? So these people have the ability, they can legally use these medicines. And it's not done out of maliciousness, you know, they just don't have the knowledge. And that's why I feel like people like myself, that's our space. We have to educate, give them the tools so they can do the best they can for their clients. Because none of this, I think, is taught for people, obviously, if this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, that's just scary world that we live in.
Yeah.
It's like, legally, I can use this now. I'm given permission to use this medicine. And then you take it out of the world of the plants, right? You take the specific molecule of it, and there's no respect for the plant. There's no respect for, you know, the process. And there's not, like, people are just, yeah, it's a whole, like, we could go into this wormhole and it would be a conversation next year. Yeah. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. So I was, like I said, I came into this work kicking and screaming. This was not my plan at all. And all of a sudden, when I opened this door and I took the first step in after all this resistance, and all these people and these things are coming to me, it's like, now I know this is why I'm here.
That's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. So just trust what you feel. Because if I would have stayed stuck in that mental state where I was at and been in such resistance and fear into plant medicines, which I still think there's a lot of people who do it in, I think, the wrong way, that it's just harming them. It's not really helping them. But that's why people like us are here to educate. And the people who are ready to hear, hopefully will take something and it will be a better process for them if that's what their journey is about.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm hoping comes out of, like, conversations like this, where it's like, no, it's not a cure-all. No, it's not, you take this thing, you have this magical, mystical experience, and then you don't have to do anything with it. It's work. Like, if you really want to feel better, if you want to figure yourself out, and if you're struggling and you want to use plant medicine to help, educate yourself about the situation that you're in. Because if you just got, like, if the situation that you just described, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. It's like they're not being prepped beforehand. It doesn't sound like they had the support afterwards to be able to actually talk through some of this stuff to figure it out before you leave and have this thought that you might need to go break up something that's actually a good thing. It's just, yeah, it's the negative.
But like I said, yeah.
I was just going to say, the negative stigma that's been put around psychedelics that still lingers from the 60s is, and
it's not going to go away anytime soon either, I think.
It's not. No.
There's going to be people like I was a year ago who are like, bullshit, like drug using and what the fuck, I know. You know, but that's I put up a thing about this, that there's a difference between medicine and drugs.
Yes.
Right? So drugs is to distract you, but when you do medicine work, it's fucking hard work. You don't do that for fun. Nobody does that for fun, because you go into your pain. Drugs take you out of your pain. They distract you from your pain. Medicine takes you straight into the center, the epicenter of your pain. And
Yeah.
that's not fun. Most
No.
of the time, it's not fun, or at least for me. And it's like, it's your teacher. It shows you where to heal, and then you go and you apply the lesson. And that's where somebody like me, you know, who coaches people to how you weave that magic into your everyday life, because people think you have to have plant medicine to be able to be in touch with the divine, but it's inside you all the time. It's just reminding you, it's showing you in that place that you don't go to because you're so here. So
Yeah.
then there are tools that you can do to be able to engage with that space within yourself after your medicine journey, because you've been there, you remember now,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
It's, oh my God. The things that you can bring back from that are life changing. You know,
Yeah,
if it's done the correct way, and if you are in a supportive environment and you are having the right people and things around you in that
exactly.
setting. It's
Yeah.
something that I've noticed from my own like plant medicine journeys, and thinking about like, okay, am I going for a drug experience here, or am I going for learning?
Mhm.
Because I still think there are plenty of instances where it's perfectly acceptable to have fun with these things.
Of
Like
course. Like,
I
you
don't,
have the best conversations with people, the best fucking conversations with
oh
people,
my God, yeah. Yeah, but on the other side of it, it's just, if you're only going there because you feel like that's the only thing that you can do to feel a little bit better, I think that's where the the mysticism and the medicine starts to kind of wear off a little bit,
Mhm.
because you're not really doing it from a good place.
Yeah.
And I've thankfully had experiences in meditation that I've had an actual like psychedelic experience, to where I know that I don't need a plant to be able to do this, and
Mhm.
I think that's a good thing as well. So it's just, I think a lot of what we're talking about here is balance and understanding, though, at the end
Yeah,
of the
exactly. And just empowering people. You know, you want to empower people to understand that you don't need crutches from outside yourself
day. Yeah.
to shine and be magical. You know,
Hmm.
you just need to be reminded of it,
Yeah,
right?
much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So something that you had mentioned with like doing integration before
Mhm.
an actual plant medicine experience.
Mhm.
I've talked with a lot of people about integration afterwards. What kind of
Okay.
stuff are you talking about beforehand?
Okay. So beforehand, the basic thing that everybody needs to know is, you know, if you're looking for a place, these are like logistics, right? If you're looking for a place, what questions to ask from the providers? What you want to like to make sure that you're going to a place that gives you the things that you need to have the best experience, but also explain to them, you know, like with psilocybin, for example, the basic things a person needs to know to be able to trust it is it lasts for 4 to 5 hours, then it's done. You cannot go and snap like with LSD. You cannot snap and go mental and never return, right? Physically, you're going to be fine. You're giving, you know, tools to ground yourself. How can you bring yourself back to your body, whether it's your person there or whatever? So you go through the whole thing, not giving expectations, because then people have this idea of how it's going to be. And then when it's not like that, and that's part of the prep, when it's not like that, then they're going to have a feeling of like, I failed at it, or it was shit. And they don't see the magic because they think it should be like this. So you need to give them enough information. So there's a feeling of safety, but not too much
Mhm.
to block them from experiencing it fully, right? But then there's also things like, you know, if you have a partner, for example, you live with someone, right? And you're the only one who goes to do this experience. And the other person, for example, never has done that, right? You want to understand the idea of what happens when I come home.
Yeah.
I might need to, you know, create space. I might need some space for my partner. How do I deal with the fact of me having the potentially having this massive experience, and then I come home to my space, and it's like the space is the same, but I'm not the same.
Yeah.
So people have understanding all of this, right? But also explaining them what you can do before when you're prepping with dieta, and things that you have to do or it's good to do and why it's good to do them, right? But so people have already understanding of what they need to do after, so they go with that preparation in mind. And when they come out of it and they go home by themselves, right, that they don't just close themselves from everyone and don't do the work, so they understand what needs to happen afterwards, right? So we go through a lot of these things so people are prepared and they go home and then they feel like, okay, so this is what I can do now. And then we go on a call and we start kind of unraveling what came up.
I like that.
With them. So yeah, so those are kind of the things that we would go through beforehand. Or if they have a person who is really resistant to their work, it's a loved one for them. So we might talk, okay, how can you have this conversation with your person? Because you don't want to go there and think, when I come home, it's going to be a shit show. Right. So go through all of these things, and you want to take as many questions out of their mind that you can.
Yeah.
So there's like, those are a few examples of what is before, right? So people are like, you feel safe when you have enough information, right? And then you can go with it and you know what to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that would be a little bit of that work beforehand.
Nice. I do want to ask you about LSD. What are you talking about with snapping your fingers and?
So this is what, so, okay, again, I'm just talking out of my ass now because I've never done LSD and I don't have.
I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't happen.
I look like I snap and I'm just like here hanging. The guys with the white coats are just passing on the background. Yeah, I had to keep figured out. Yeah, so I like to take calculated risks in my life. Right? Like I would never go and jump over an airplane without a parachute just because I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to go and trust an experience and go fully into it is to know that everything is going to be fine. Nothing bad can happen to me. If like I had an experience where I had a full-blown ego death and I didn't ask, well, I kind of asked for it, but I didn't want it because it's horrible. In the moment, it's horrible. And I was alone and I thought I'm never coming back, and I'm in this middle stage and I'm like walking around and seeing through dimensions and walking naked, and I thought nobody can see me, right? So in that moment, I was freaking out because nobody was there to hold the space for me, right? But I know that it's safe. But if I would be in LSD, and I've heard these stories, and it's a friend of a friend, as the story goes, usually, who had an experience, and obviously he had background of some kind of mental illness in their family, but he didn't have any symptoms, nothing. But he had, and I'm not a fan of synthetics per se myself, but that he had snapped and had a schizophrenic episode, and he's 30 something and he's in a facility and he's never coming home. So stories like these have scared me enough, but I've never heard anything like this. All the research that I've done and people that I've spoken to with psilocybin, ever.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's
then I'm never going to do that again either.
Yeah, it's like I do know that, and this is another thing I think we should call out. If you do have a family history of mental illness, if you are suffering from bipolar, schizophrenia, something like that, do not willy-nilly just do these things, because I really believe that probably had something to play with what the story was. Like my experiences with LSD have been very, very, very comforting. It's just longer. It's not a 4 to 5 hour thing. It's like a 6 to 12 hour thing. So, and it does come in waves sometimes. So there is the tendency, like it can feel like, oh, I'm out of it. And then it's like, oh, buddy, I'm back in it. But yeah, I get where you're at on that. Are you pretty much mostly like all like the plant medicine side of things?
So that's what so my next one will most likely be 5-MeO. So it's in the works and it's just kind of coming into my life, and So, and then San Pedro is the other one. But when it comes to plant medicine and synthetics,
Yeah.
so the thing that I question, but then and that's the whole thing of making it into a pharmaceutical or whatever, is one, the person who makes the medicine puts their energy into it as well. So one, you want to know who is your pharmacist
Yeah.
for that, for you, right? And
Yeah.
then for me, I feel like plants do have a spirit
Yeah.
of their own, right? Who is like, they have an intelligence, but do things that are made in a lab possess the same knowledge and do things that are okay for you, but then don't harm you? You know what I mean? Like they give you what you need, but when it's a pharmaceutical, but it also opens up the same receptors in your brain as plant medicine. So it takes you to that same place, but in a different way. So I'm kind of, yeah, yeah. So it's something that I'm pondering about. But if I can choose, I'm more a plant medicine person.
Okay. Yeah, you'd be
Right?
more on the ergot instead of the synthetic version
Yeah,
of it. Yeah.
exactly. So I like, again, I don't know. I've learned not to say never because I've eaten my words so many times I gotta get a stomach ache. But so yeah. So I'm humble and I see what comes to me. But regardless, I just want to do, and that's what I want with my clients as well, to do your due diligence. Be
Yeah.
smart about things. Don't be a sheep and think, like people hear about ayahuasca, it's everywhere, right? And they think, that's the thing I need to do. This is the thing I need to do. It's like, listen to yourself. Everybody's talking about it. It's the trendiest, it's the loudest thing out there, but feel yourself. Am I ready? What am I called to do? The medicine will come to you when you're ready. The right medicine will come to you. Don't just do a thing because everybody's doing it.
You just hit the nail on the head. I could not, and I had heard that before I got into this kind of stuff. I didn't have my first psychedelic experience until after I was 30, and it was partially because of the culture that I came from was primarily drinking. It was drinking, partying. It's just you go out, and the other substances that you use aren't plant medicines.
Yeah.
It's not the best stuff. But where was I going with that?
About plants or synthetics? No?
Yeah, I can't even remember where I was going with that.
My brain goes off the tracks all the time too, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's all right. No.
It will come back if it's important.
It will. Yeah. Oh, it just came back. It was. It's when they find you. Like I had heard before. It's like, oh, ayahuasca will find you. DMT will find you. This kind of stuff. And I was just like, yeah, okay. Like that's kind of weird, but I found out that it does. And when it pops up, you're like, oh, I wasn't even looking. Okay, I get it. I get what you're talking about. So it's like, where is your energy being focused? Or do you want it?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, do you want it just to romanticize?
Because my ego wants it. It's like, it's this group, or like you have people doing breath work when you're like foaming from the mouth, and it's like, oh my god, that looks fucking extreme. I want to do it. It's like, are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Or it's like, So, but that's the thing with anything, isn't it? When you go with the flow, the right things come to you. But when you just like go against it and just you want to like muscle through, and then usually you end up doing shit that you shouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it never feels good. And you're going to know it doesn't feel good, but it's going to feel confusing at the same time because you feel like you should be doing it. But it's, you're not in the right place.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing I feel. And no disrespect, because I've been this person, I still am this person sometimes, but don't be a sheep. Think for yourself. Please think for yourself. Yeah. Don't just go and do whatever people are doing. It's not just plant medicine, it's everything.
Yeah.
Right? I question, be smart about things. Be smart. It's your life. It's your health.
Yeah.
And you have your inner guidance systems. You just need to listen to it.
Yeah. And it's like, if you randomly notice that you're kind of following the crowd, being a sheep on something, after you notice, you have the opportunity to change it. Like there are so many things that we build habits for that create this sheep-like just thing where we just go with the flow. So and I'm in the same boat as you, where I'm just like, I know there's some things that I haven't questioned, that when it comes up for me, I'm gonna be like, whoa, what's that all about? That I then need to question and see if I want to change something about it, or do I not want to,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just avoiding the thing altogether.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. Totally.
Oh God. So what's on the horizon for you? What do you have anything coming up that you're planning? Any new moves? Anything with the work that you're doing?
So with work, I'm getting up or setting up a webinar for people regarding plant medicine pre and post,
Oh,
for them to get information, just so it's a cheaper way of people to kind of get as much information as they need.
yeah.
So I just want people to be safe. So that's one thing that I'm doing. And then so this is kind of a hush hush. It just kind of popped up yesterday, linked to what I told you about the client who was offered Xanax and stuff. So I'm calling out for people who have done medicine journeys, whether they've had a good experience or a bad experience with clinicians, to share their story with me, and they can do it anonymously. And I'm creating a platform for people, with a few people I'm getting together who I'm going to be doing this with. A platform through my website when it's done, where clinicians can come and see and get the information that they need
Mm-hmm.
when they are about to start treating people with plant medicine. And then there's also people who have had these experiences, can share them in that space. And then I'm going to be there kind of giving as much information as I can, and then hopefully educate clinicians in the future about this, and just kind of give that perspective, and then give them extra tools with their work. So that's something that we're setting up, and we're getting together right now. That is quite big. And then obviously working with different retreats. So if there's any retreats, or even if you're an underground place and not doing it legally, I still want your clients to get the best out of your experience with you, whoever you are, if you're a facilitator. So feel free to get in touch, and I would be happy to work with you to help your clients before and after, and just kind of join up forces to, just to help people do this, and just do the work in the right, correct way, and be safe.
That's such a healthy way of thinking about it too. It's not that the clinician has to not offer this type of thing, but they can work in conjunction with an integration coach like yourself to create a great process. Like, you get to prep them beforehand, they go through the thing, and then you get a debrief after.
So that facilitator thing was more so for people who are holding retreats and things like this, but don't have that aspect of prepping their clients and then helping them after.
Okay.
But for clinicians, it's more so giving them tools on how can you prep your client for your session.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because if I'm happy to work with their clients, but if you're a psychologist, most likely you're going to be doing a bit of that work with them. But I can maybe help you how to give your client.
Okay.
So give them the understanding of how to do it in the safest way, and to have the best experience for your client, and explain to them. Because like I said, I'm not here to like say the clinicians are doing it wrong, or they're bad people. No, not at all. And most of them are doing it correctly, but they just don't have enough information, right? About this fact that you don't have to mix pharmaceuticals with plant medicine. That's not what the plant medicine is there for.
And you shouldn't do
No.
that either.
No. Okay. So that's, you shouldn't. It's just a shitstorm when you do that. So don't do that. But like I said, I don't want to be there the judgmental person or saying you shouldn't do this, because I feel like everybody does the best they can with what they know at the moment. So the more you know, the better you can be for your people that you're working with.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that everybody wants to do the best they can for their clients, right? If you are in that field of work. So just to kind of, put those two things together, because we can change the fact that it's going to be legalized. It's going to be in the hands of clinicians. but then what can we do? We can't change that fact. It's like having COVID. We can't change the fact we have COVID, but maybe we can put out information that is uplifting and it's helping people to
Yeah.
cope with what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm really, really excited to do. And yeah, if people have stories of their experience, because obviously I want to know what happens behind closed doors. I would not have known about what is going on unless this client of mine told me,
Right.
you know? So people, please
That's
just
very
send me
concerning.
messages. It made me mad, and then I just let it go because I can't, like, I can't be there to watch after everyone. Plus, then what do I know? Like, I know what I know, and I share that. And if it resonates with you, take it. If it doesn't, just leave it.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Man, I do worry about that a little bit with the route of legalization, because I've seen how it's gone with cannabis here in some of the places that it's been legalized. But the uplifting side of things, there's a couple areas in the U.S., like in Denver, that's
Colorado?
decriminalized psilocybin, in Oakland, who's decriminalized all plant medicines. So you got like peyote, like ayahuasca, ibogaine, like all that shit has just been decriminalized. I hope that at least with plant medicines, it goes the decriminalization route rather than legalization, because then if it goes legalization, we're going to see some
Where
of
you
the
know where it leads.
is what
You know where it leads if that happens.
yep, the capitalistic structure that's already in place, and it's kind of gone away from the intention of why it's here in the first. Yeah. So hopeful. I know we still got a long ways to go, but hoping that we can go the route at least of decriminalization instead of legalization.
But for me, it's more, like for people to get more information about it. There's so many people who could benefit from this. And I hate the fact that it's only usually in the hands of people with money.
Oh,
And
I know.
like, that's my main clientele, are people who, because of, my background and things, but my main clientele are people who are, they live in Silicon Valley and they go for a weekend to do, plant medicine, and then they fly back home, and from the airport they go straight to the board meeting. They're like, oh my God, that was fucking amazing, but they don't do any of the work.
Right. It's like
So
you
they have
basically.
the money and they go and they pay for this. They're like, I want to be healed by this plant now. I have the money, so I'm going to just fly somewhere and do this and come home, and I'm expecting things to be different.
Yeah.
Right. But then I want to find a way, and that's the thing, because there's a lot of people who just want to help people,
Yeah.
and they don't charge that much.
Yeah.
Right. Like, they just do it because they want to. And obviously you need to be given money for your work, right? If you're sitting for someone and it's a whole day thing, whatever, you need to be, paid for it, because that's your work.
Yeah.
And it's an energetic exchange. But I don't know how this will work, and what can be done about it. Maybe you have ideas, but how can we get plant medicine to the hands of the people who actually need it, who don't have the money to pay $5,000 for a weekend?
I definitely don't know. Because that is a major issue, because a lot of the people that are benefiting from these things that are still seen as illegal and are still or they are illegal, a lot of them, and seen as the devil by a lot of other people. It's like, yeah, the rich people that get to go on the retreat to the other countries, getting basically a weekend reset, and they're not taking that to come back and be a better human necessarily, but they're just doing it so they feel decluttered.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
They're
it
not
works
really
out.
decluttered. That's the thing. They're not decluttered,
Yeah.
right? Weekend doesn't change anything for you. It doesn't change. You're like, I can pay for this. I have the money. I'm busy. I have to do my shit, right? So they're totally missing the point of plant medicine. So these
Yeah.
people have a lot of education because they're doing it a lot, right?
Yeah.
But then also, like, and that needs to be said here, and I think we're both on the same boat with, like, if we want to put out disclaimers a little bit here, maybe you can put it on the description or something, that I feel like, at least for me, I'm not here to say do plant medicine, or where it's illegal. I'm not advocating for people to do illegal things.
Right.
But I just want people to be safe, because there's so many people doing this illegally, So I want them to have the information they need to be able to do it in a safe manner and get the best out of their experience and not do stupid, silly things and play with their health and their life.
Because there is a resurgence right now with psychedelics in the public space, and there are certain individuals a lot with a big following that are talking about it, and there's like stuff on Netflix about it, and like you said, Michael Pollan's book, and there's a lot of this curiosity around it. And you know, with curiosity, like a lot of people want to try it because it's the new thing, and a lot of people talk very highly of this stuff because I think the idea is we want people to realize that these aren't the demonic things that they were called out as in the 60s, and there's something that can actually help. So, you know, there's this movement to show that, oh, well, hold on, like we're looking at this the wrong way, it can really help a lot, you know, but we do need to look at both sides.
And I feel like one thing that is miscommunicated in a lot of ways, and people just, you know, people take the headlines, right? They don't read the whole story.
Yeah.
So what I feel, where part of the way of people thinking this one thing is going to transform my life,
right,
without doing any work, is it comes, and that's an actual thing that does happen, when there's a lot of talk about how it's used in people who are terminally ill.
Yeah.
And they have one experience, and it's like it's made to seem like they're like it does what it needed to do, this one experience. Yeah. But it's more that also happens to people, whether you're dying or not. You know, you get this feeling of there's something after. I'm not afraid of death. So that does happen, right? So that is an instant thing. When you're there and you experience that feeling of being one with the whole and being one with the consciousness, being one with God, whatever you know, how you describe it to yourself. Yeah. So that is an instantaneous thing that happens to people who are afraid to die, and they feel that space, and it's like, I'm okay going there. It's fine. So that is a transformative experience in that one moment, right? But then for people who are looking to heal their wounds and they continue their work on this earth until they pass on, you know, that's where the work comes in. But that doesn't happen in that journey. I feel like that's kind of where people maybe take a bit of that idea that it's that one experience is so transformative. Yes, it is for people who are about to pass on.
That's very well said. Yeah, man. You know, and I also will never recommend this to everybody. If you do not want to take plant medicines as part of your experience in this life, don't fucking do it.
Because that means that you're not meant to do it. If you're feeling like so much resistance to it, you know, okay, you want to see if the resistance is your ego wanting to keep you, you know, away from something that will bring you closer to you.
Yeah.
So you need to have that conversation, you know, but that's your job to do. It's not mine.
Yeah.
Right. To decide for yourself if this is, you know, a true calling, or if it's my whatever is pushing me to do it just because I want to tell people that I did ayahuasca and
Yeah, because there's some people that are like, man, if we just dosed everybody with some LSD, it would be all right. And it's like, no, there are a lot of people that are not going to benefit from this type of experience. So it's like, I think it's important to talk about that in this space where we're talking about psychedelics, that we're not advocating that everyone should be forced to do this stuff. It's like, if you're searching for it and it's something that makes sense to you, at least a little bit, or you're curious about it, learn about it first. Like, see if it's something that would resonate with you. Talk to people who have had experiences, both good and bad. You know, see if this is something that is an actual option that you might want to do someday.
Exactly. There's a lot of people like myself, you know, you can just message me and I'm happy to, like, there's a lot of people who want to get information. So I'm happy to help out, you know, a little messages here and there, but I'm happy to do just a session for you to kind of figure out if this is for you and give you as much information, maybe lead you to the right people to talk to, if you're kind of struggling with the fact of should I or should I not. But do your due diligence, people. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good way to start wrapping this one up. And if there's anything else that you wanted to touch on before we end this one.
No, there's a lot of things to touch on, but I think we touched on a lot enough for one discussion.
Okay. Well, put a pin in that, and we can do this again sometime.
I would love to.
Awesome. Well, if for people that want to reach out to you and check out what you got going on, like what's your website, if you have one, social media, all that fun.
So everything is, so my website is being redone. So there's some information there, but it's a bit of a mess. But the best way to contact me is through HunaWorks. So hunaworks.com is the website, and then Instagram is the place where I hang out the most. So that's also HunaWorks. So HUNA and then works in one.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Suvi, for taking some time out today, and hope your day ahead of me ends up going well, and as mine wraps up. And
Sunny here in Sydney, so it's gonna be, I'm gonna go for a walk and just go into the nature a little bit after. So it's gonna be a beautiful day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it, people, and we are out of here.
Thank you, Ryan.